Happy Friday, folks, and welcome back to the random video blog where every single Friday I, Graham G.S. Matthews, give my rambling thoughts on the wrestling world, share a few stories, etc., etc. And today I'll be doing something a bit different, trying something new here for the show, which I thought would be really, really cool. So, randomly, like this was never intentional. I just put this out as a random tweet about a month ago at WrestleRant. Follow me now if you haven't already. I'm sure you have by this point. But I put out this random tweet that I thought would, get some conversation going, not like something super controversial, but something everyone can relate to that I want to do more of here on the channel and on my podcast and stuff like that, maybe even in articles. But I thought it'd be a good topic to talk about here in the random video blog. That being, and this was the tweet that I put out, okay? So I put this out on October 13th, just about a month ago. And I said, is there that period in wrestling for you that everyone hates, but you'll always have a soft spot for because it brings back nostalgia? And I think I might have tweeted that because I was watching some 2010 pay-per-view or an '08 pay-per-view, because that's how it is for me. As you guys know, and I say it every single fucking video, I've been watching wrestling for almost a decade now, since April of 2008. I will celebrate 10 years in April of next year in 2018. But, of course, I started watching at that point, and I love the year of '08 because it makes me very nostalgic. And it's interesting because, '08 isn't really regarded as a bad year, and you'll get to hear some more responses about what other people said. It's very interesting, and I got a lot of different responses from the '80s to the '90s to the 2000s, 2010s. A lot of great responses. Which I'll talk about here in a moment. I'll share every tweet that I got. If I liked your tweet, if you responded to my tweet about a month ago, then I'll share your response here in a moment. But for me, again, '08 isn't regarded as a bad year, nor is it really remembered as a great year for most fans. I love it because I started watching in '08 and I have a lot of fond memories of coming home after school and watching Raw, watching it before I had to get on the bus in the morning, stuff like that. Racing home from certain, going out to dinner and racing home to find out who won the main event between Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho in the main event of No Mercy 2008. And even like the years of '09 and 2010. Overall, the year sucked, but I still get nostalgic watching episodes and pay-per-views of Raw and SmackDown and shit like that of WWE's from that point in time. Because I was just starting out, or I was in 8th grade in the early '09, but I was just starting out high school in late '09, 2010. So I get very nostalgic watching episodes of Raw and SmackDown and even pay-per-views from that time period, because although it was an awful time to be a fan in WWE, nothing really going on beyond the Nexus and maybe even the Miz's rise and stuff like that, it was a pretty boring time to be a fan in 2009, 2010. But I still get nostalgic because that's what I grew up on. I remember coming home after Raw, and at that point I was living at my grandmother's house. I didn't have DVR over there. I didn't have a DVR for the first, I was only there for a year. I didn't have DVR when I was at my grandma's house. So I'd have to really relegate to watching Raw on YouTube in fucking parts and scrambling to find different parts of Raw on YouTube. And that was before I found out about certain websites and stuff like that. And I'd be sitting there eating a TV dinner watching Raw at 7 o'clock at night on a Tuesday. Because I didn't have DVR and I was at school, and that's all I was doing homework and shit. That was when I had to watch Raw, which is unheard of nowadays. If I had to wait until Tuesday night to watch Raw now, I'd go insane. That's not to say that Raw is, it's a lot better now than it was back then, but I need to watch Raw ASAP. If I'm busy, out at class or something on a Monday or Tuesday night when Raw and SmackDown are airing, I'll watch it as soon as I get home, even if it means staying up until 1 a.m., which was obviously not an option when I was a freshman in high school. Anyway, guys, I do want to share your responses to my question. Once again, the exact wording of my question was this. Is there that period in wrestling for you that everyone hates, but you'll always have a soft spot for because it brings back nostalgia? So we'll start with @RustyRages. His response was, and he has the 280 character limit, so his response was a bit longer than everyone else's. Anyway, so he had said, mine is right before the Attitude Era kicked off. Most people gloss it over, don't like it. But I've always said that without that stuff from 97 and 97, none of the shit in the following years would have happened. So he's talking about like 96, 97, right before Montreal Screwjob, after WrestleMania 12. So good answer. @KMB Referee, I think he might have misinterpreted my question, because this was his answer. The Attitude Era damaged the business as a whole in so many ways. I think what he thought I meant was that is there a point in wrestling that everyone loves but you hate? So he said the Attitude Era. Unless he has a soft spot for the Attitude that everyone else hated, but no one hates the Attitude Era. He may be right, that's subjective whether it damaged the business, and I kind of disagree with that, but I don't know, it's not about my opinion, but I'm not sure, that's not a point in wrestling that everyone hated, so I'm not sure what you mean by that. I don't like the Attitude Era, but largely it's loved, so I'm not sure what his response, or what he meant by his response there. At Jamie Lee Mack, Dr. Mack's question, or his response was, I'm stuck in hashtag AskJSM mode here, 2009 and 2010, just because both of those summers were amazing for me personally. I feel the same way. Again, those summers for me were not that great at all. Not the summer specifically, but like those years, not whether it's good or bad, I get nostalgic about certain times in wrestling because they were either great years for me personally, and I kind of associate that with certain periods of wrestling, like in 08 or 09 or 010, or 2010, not 010. So I agree with that. That's a great answer. At Nastrology, Nash from Twitter, yes, 2005 to 2007 was my childhood, but it's not very highly regarded nowadays. 05 to 07 was a good time in wrestling. I enjoyed 05. Maybe not 06 or 07, but I enjoyed 05. At North Genesis, his response was WWE New Generation 93 to 96. That's a good answer because a lot of people shit all over 95. So that's a really good answer. At Hardy DX Fan, weirdly, the Royal Rumble in 2004 brings back a lot of memories, as that was the first pay-per-view I had ever seen, and I've been hooked ever since. So that's another thing, where, like with 08 with me, it's like, why would anything in 08 have hooked you as a fan? But I love that year because it's what got me hooked as a WWE fan, what got me hooked on WWE. The 04 Royal Rumble, I thought it was a great Royal Rumble. For a lot of people, it's not regarded as an amazing time in wrestling, but I can see what he means, that even though it's not all that highly regarded, it got him hooked as a fan, which is why he's nostalgic about it, and he's nostalgic for it, and he has a soft spot for it as well. At RJ_Marceau, my brother Mr. Marceau, his response was kind of a different response, but I hated 2010 to 2011, but I watched Raw and SmackDown weekly, and to this day, I'm not sure why. I know RJ has said this to me before. 2011 I loved. We've had this discussion that I love 2011, and he knows that. Maybe not my favorite year in wrestling anymore, but he watched Raw and SmackDown anyway. And I feel like you're at a certain point, at least when you're younger, when you're going to watch Raw no matter what, no matter how bad it is. Like, to me, it makes no sense why people today shit all over Raw and WWE, which it's not great most weeks. I'll give you that. But people tune out today. Yet, where were you 10 years ago when the product was fucking shit? Were you still giving the product hope back then? Like in 09, 2010? Why weren't people tuning out then? And I'm sure there were people tuning out. But the people that are tuning out now, they're tuning out now, but not 5-6 years ago when Raw was even worse than it is now. But maybe it's just because of an age thing and you were more into wrestling. I don't know, but that's a good answer too. A different response, definitely, but it was a good answer. At Hassie, I've never been able to pronounce his last name. Pete. At Hassie, 1129. 1995, again, another very much a year that people hate, but I guess he is very much a soft spot for it in the new generation era. At Abitude, his response was, gotta say I loved 2011 and 2012 and 05 to 06, regardless of how it was looked at. Good answer. At J317, Invasion storyline. Everyone says it could have been done a lot better, but I was 11 and it was still real to me. I didn't know what I know now. So yeah, again, that's a great answer too. The Invasion, not very well remembered, at least not for the right reasons. It was a very botched storyline in many ways, but he looks back on it very fondly because he was only 11 years old, so he enjoys it very much and has a soft spot for it. At the Average Grunt, his response was 2004 through 2008 for me. Good answer. At Simply Messy, his response was Carlos's response. WrestleMania 25-26 era, LOL. 25 I thought was not a good show. 26 I thought was better. But yeah, like 05, I think he's talking about 09 to 2010. At Arrow to Your Knee, his response was post-Attitude Era until maybe SummerSlam 2003, the birth of Brock Lesnar, the rise of Jericho, and the death of Hulkamania. That's a good answer too. I mean, people I think are very fond of that time in wrestling. '01 to '03. It was a pretty popular time, but that was a good time to be a wrestling fan, I will say. At Joe Burgett underscore WE, his response was, I really like the Ruthless Aggression era, to be honest. A lot of people disliked it, but I quite enjoyed it. I don't know if a lot of people disliked it. Maybe at the time, but I wasn't a fan at that time, and I enjoyed it, so that's just me. Next answer here, and I think the final answer. From at Jared Bodel. Late 2005 and 2006 for me is when I first started watching wrestling. Also late '08 and 2009 when I could watch it again. So those were your answers, guys, to my question in regards to what wrestling era. I don't think I said WWE specifically. It's loading right now, but I think I just said era in wrestling in general. And everyone who responded, it was talking about WWE. But you could have been talking about WCW, ECW, whatever, like the final few years of WCW. You might have hated because they were trash, but everyone else might have hated because they were trash, but you might have loved it because you were just starting out as a wrestling fan or whatever. So thank you for your response. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm looking at the question now. I said wrestling, not specifically WWE, but everyone did respond with WWE stuff, which is cool. Maybe we'll do one of these things in the future, like what would make you stop watching wrestling? And I've got that question before, and I've answered it in article form before on my website, nextwrestling.net. But maybe we'll talk about it in a video for a future random video blog. So just stay tuned to the Twitter machine. Follow me if you haven't already at WrestleRant. And again, thank you to everyone that responded to that question on Twitter about a month ago. Stay tuned for more questions and interactive posts like that in the future, because your name very well might end up on this very random video blog in the future. That being said, folks, as always, I appreciate the support. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.